It's me, Mario!
Hello and welcome to another wonderful review. Today we will be talking about one of the biggest innovators in the 3D platforming genre and 3D gaming period, with Super Mario 64 for the Nintendo 64. Now this game has a dear spot in a lot of people's hearts, including my own. So today we are going to go over the reasons why that is, and give an overall inspection into why this game is still seen today as one of the defining moments in gaming history. Super Mario 64 has a lot going for it, introducing things such as a camera that can rotate around you and help you reorientate where you want the camera to be behind the player, making it easier to perform sections of platforming or to simply look around and get a good feel of the level before you proceed. There's also challenges at the beginning of every level, describing to you in a small way what you need to do to get a star. Now this might seem primitive to modern day gamers, but at the time there was no such feature in any kind of game. You did not have camera rotations or things of that nature, at least not in a popularized form. So Super Mario 64 really took that concept and put it out there for all game developers to take and use in their own games. Remember, this is a time before we had twin stick shooters, and the concept of controlling the camera was a foreign concept. But with Super Mario 64, this became a vocal point in game development and is something that's been used in all 3D games going forward. Nintendo has innovated in a great way, and the controls in Super Mario 64 using the analog stick really show how 3D gaming really needed to be done. At least this is the point where 3D gaming was finally starting to develop, and we were starting to see solutions to problems that had hindered the development of 3D games before. Presenting a style that could only be done by Nintendo, Nintendo decided to take a non-linear approach to Super Mario 64, instead putting you inside of sandboxes for levels, with select objectives to collect all of the stars within them to unlock and progress throughout the game. This was a major change for the series because the series has always been a linear, left screen to the right kind of platformer. But with Super Mario 64, they introduced a new kind of level design into the mix, and this is a level design that has been loved and lauded throughout the years. They even used this level design up to this point with the latest release of Super Mario Odyssey, which steals a lot of favor and love from Super Mario 64. The music was performed by series composer Koji Kondo and is some of the greatest music done in a Mario game. It is one of his finest works, although not my favorite work by him. It is a lovely implementation and will really get your blood flowing for the gameplay and what's to come. It is no surprise or secret why I love this game so much. This game has brought a lot of love and tears to many players, and making it through the game and into the final fight with Bowser is a moment that will live on with millions of us for decades and decades to come. It is a feeling that we even share with our kids, and the game earns its love. It is a love that is not given to it for any special reason outside of its pure gameplay genius and its imaginative worlds. When this game had come out, it had a lot that it needed to do. It needed to show a concept of how 3D Mario would work. A lot of games back in the day had trouble bringing the 2D gameplay into the 3D realm without sacrificing core concepts of the game series. Super Mario 64 developers obviously had to face this down, and I think they did a wonderful job of making sure to keep what makes a Mario game without sacrificing too much. The changes they made, although they were quite big, were universally accepted. People loved this game. This game really did delve into the hearts and minds of everyone who played it, and was the first time a lot of people saw 3D gaming at what at the time was seen as its full potential. A lot of other game franchises tried to do the same thing, such as Bubsy, and these games obviously seen a lot of negative press for the way that they decided to do the 3D gaming. Mario gave complete control with the analog stick and free roaming camera, and although looking back we can tell how janky the controls can be sometimes, the levels were obviously designed with this in mind so that we did not notice it back in the day, and even to this day it is some of the best well-designed levels for the time. For this reason, a lot of people keep this game in high praise. Another facet of this game development and things going on around this time was the fact that Nintendo had to compete with two fierce competitors at the time, and although they would edge over a win over Sega, Sony would overtake the entire gaming generation. And this would not stop here. Third-party support began to drop because of choices such as the cartridge over a optical disc media. These things really did hurt Nintendo in the long run, but at the time Nintendo still came out with some of the best games ever made despite this. As we come to a close in this review, I want to talk about the Nintendo 64 legacy and what it meant for Nintendo moving forward in the future. Although the Nintendo 64 had amazing games like this, it did make many mistakes that would lead to its failure in the future, such as its choice of capacity and ROM chips over a CD-ROM format which could hold a lot more data and was more user-friendly for the game developers to use. The legacy of the Nintendo 64 would be a legacy that is oftentimes overlooked. It is a console that people look back with fervor and emotion and remember great times, and it did have an amazing lineup of video games, although this lineup was far smaller than its competitors and even the prior consoles that Nintendo had worked on. With that said, the games that were released on the Nintendo 64 were some of the greatest titles ever made, such as Super Mario 64, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, Donkey Kong 64, Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, just to name a few. And the third-party support, although it was small, it was there. But in the end, the console met a fate that began a trend that would follow Nintendo throughout the years. Even to this day, third-party support is just now beginning to come back in full force with the Nintendo Switch out. I believe that the Nintendo of today is a much better Nintendo and listens better to its developers and the people who purchase its consoles. And with that hope, I hope that Nintendo has a bright future moving forward. With Super Mario 64, I give this game a 9 out of 10 and tell everyone who has never played it to go out and play it. There are several ways for you to play it. Obviously, the original console is the best way, but it's also on the Wii U Virtual Console, and I'm hoping that they will bring it to the Nintendo Switch at some point in the future. Anyway, I want to thank everyone who watched this. I'm sorry that I've not put out a video for a very long time, but I've had a lot of curveballs thrown at me in my life. If you enjoyed this video, remember to like, subscribe, and to share this video with your friends. Also, leave comments on what you think about Super Mario 64 and the Nintendo 64 as a whole down below. Thank you guys for watching. Stay nerdy.